All right guys, it's a fabrication day. We are continuing work on our four-wheel drive chassis that we're preparing to put underneath my two-wheel drive Silverado. We got a turbo big block truck right now, and I got this wild idea some time ago to convert it to four-wheel drive. I don't know, it made sense to me at the time, and now we're deep in the middle of it. So this is where we're at, progress report. Last time we got the rear suspension kind of mocked up. We're gonna have Calvert split monos, we have Funkhauser sliders, we have a big beefy rear end on the way. We're gonna have an anti-roll bar back there, a fuel tank relocated back here. We're gonna redo a whole bunch of cross members. But today is not about the rear because we're basically waiting on a bunch of stuff. Today, we're gonna continue to make some progress up front here. I wanna get the passenger side front suspension kind of mocked up. But to do so, we've got some fab work to do. I did half of it over here, so I had to redo the ends on the lower control arm, weld it on some new sleeves, put a different style bushing on there. Still got to do the same thing up top, but this is what I want the passenger side to look like by the end of the day. So basically it's fabrication time. So enough talking about it. Let's just jump right in and get to work. Right on the money. So it might seem a little crazy taking a brand new set of control arms and chopping them up, but we're putting some better bushings on the end and we're gonna make it just a touch straighter. We have all the ends prepared, the bushings are ready to go in. So now all we really gotta do is chop the old ones off and weld the new sleeves on. This time you can see I've got it clamped up to a piece of angle iron, where last time I used a piece of long threaded rod to hold the alignment. The threaded rod idea works great. The only problem is I have to use the bushings like in there while I tack weld it. So in order to not melt them, I would like put it all together, tack weld it, and immediately take it apart and kind of let it cool off. But that would allow everything to kind of move around a little bit. So I had to cut one tack and adjust it just a little bit, which was a bit cumbersome. So this time we're just gonna try it a little different. Same idea though, basically this angle iron here is gonna hold both of these sleeves exactly, I guess, concentric, parallel with one another. Because you could think of this as basically a long piano hinge. You want the center of both of those bushings to be like dead nuts on. So let's get to chopping. You guys asked me how I made sure these bushings stayed in the right place. Basically take a lot of measurements, but this one face here is going to be in exactly the same position in relation to this arm here, and everything is based off this surface here. So I need to make sure I mark this really accurately. So as long as I put the face of the new sleeve in exactly the same position as this one here, we are golden. All right, we're going to start by getting this one tack welded on. The spacing of this one is not correct. I just kind of arbitrarily put it in there. So I'll get this one tacked and kind of locked in place, and then I'll take some measurements and adjust this guy here. All right. So that right there tells me my plan worked. So now all I gotta do is set the spacing of this guy here on the truck, and then we'll come back and tack that guy in. But that makes me happy. Stayed nice and straight and did not pull at all. All right. All right, so this has had plenty of time to cool down. So there's two things we need to check before we finish weld it though. Number one, are these both concentric, in a straight line? And number two, did I get the spacing right? So we'll check it both here and on the frame. Test number one. Perfect. Look at that. Beautiful. Oh, guys, that is perfect. I'll take that any day of the week. And weekends. I'll take it weekends too. All right, taking a quick break while those welds cool down. I was just on Facebook Marketplace and I found a set of wheels and tires for pretty cheap. They're just going to be rollers that we can use to put this chassis on and, kind of wheel it around. And of course do burnouts with at some point. They belong to my buddy Parker. Actually, you might recognize him from the drag race video where we ran our first 10-second pass.
We got 10s! We got 10s! First pass!
So we're just going to head over to his shop real quick, say hello, and buy some wheels and tires. Tell me what you're going to tell me. So how'd you get into making fuel filters?
Basically, I figured out how to make it cheaper than the guy next to me. This is my kit. It's called ATF, stands for all the fuel. I just kind of figured out what would flow the best, and then I basically came up with a fuel filter kit. So I'm about half the cost or a fraction of the cost from what an Aeromotive setup would be. Even though they make great products, I'm about half the cost of that. So there's a couple different options. Right now it's a micro glass 10 micron setup, and I also have a stainless steel 100 micron setup. The stainless steel will be used for a pre-pump, and then this will be used for a post-pump, the 10 micron micro glass. You can see in here it says 10M, if you can see that. But this is what makes us different. So this is the micron element. I want to say this filter right here, it does 4.7 gallons a minute is what it's able to flow with a 99.9% filtration rate on 10 micron. It's a microglass setup, but what makes this different is, as you can tell on this side, that hole goes all the way through, right? The hole goes all the way through here. I have a couple of our competition over there in the corner I could show you. You can't even stick your finger through it. Like I'm all the way through here.
Oh, really?
So flow is such a huge issue that they'll neck down. I even went to SEMA and I was like, well, I wonder why these companies are doing this. And I asked them, and they're like, it's just the way the casing comes. I was like, okay, I can make that better. So that's kind of how I got started and how I do it. But this is ATF and it stands for all the fuel.
Good deal. All right, so the back side of these wheels are flaking really, really badly. I already went ahead and I scraped this one. You can see it looks a lot better, just kind of getting rid of some of that chrome flaky stuff. So I'm going to do the same thing to the rest of these and wire wheel them real quick. I have this really bad habit of taking things that should be simple and turning them into something that takes a lot of time. But can't put flaky wheels on our truck. You got to clean it up. All right, so the welds are cooled down and it is time for one final fit check. Make sure nothing moved too much. That got a little tighter, which is actually good. Well, I think it pulled a teeny tiny bit, but overall that's still pretty free, so I'm happy. I like it a lot. So I got two of the wheels cleaned up on the backside, and I've actually never seen a chrome set of wheels, OEM chrome wheels, flaking as bad as these were. Like, this is the good before example. I haven't done this one yet, but like just massive chunks of this, I guess, chrome or whatever, just peeling right off. And this is what it looks like after. Definitely not like amazing, but it looks quite a bit better. And these are not permanent wheels for the truck. They're just rollers. Basically, we have two trucks because we have the two-wheel drive one outside and we have the four-wheel drive frame. I just need a roller set to help move this thing around throughout the build. And I've always liked Escalade wheels, so I saw them and I thought, what the heck, the price was perfect. It's kind of a shame though, because these tires, they still have amazing tread on them, but they're like 6 or 7 years old. So they're really not useful or safe to be a like permanent tire, but oh, and this one here has got some really uneven tread on it. Although I do happen to have a machine outside that will make quick work of that and even out those even though the tread wear in just a matter of seconds. So you guys will want to see that at some point. I have no idea when we're going to schedule that, but suspension wise, we have the passenger side lower control arm all kind of, well, it's about 3/4 of the way done. We have the bushing ends on there, squared up, trued up. This is roughly ride height. I still have to do the lower shock mount. I'll take care of that whenever my laser cut order gets here. And then also I had that doubler plate for the lower ball joint. You guys saw me sketch up in SketchUp. So anyway, that stuff should be here, who knows when. On this side, I'm gonna make a few changes to the upper control arm. I've got this side exactly at ride height where I wanna be, 10-degree uphill CV angle. And then I was just kind of looking here. We've got about 2 degrees of positive camber, and my adjustment here is all the way in. That one's about halfway. It's a little bit crooked, so it wouldn't go all the way in. But I'm shooting for 0 degrees with this guy smack dab in the middle. So basically, I'm just gonna shorten this up a little bit. I don't have sleeve material for this one, so I can't sacrifice it, but I think if I'm very careful, because I've got to shorten it, there's enough material in there where I can cut it, shorten it, save it, and put it back together and get the alignment exactly where I want it at this ride height. If we go quite a bit lower, the camber actually takes care of itself, but this is kind of what I'm shooting for, and that'll be like my, what you call neutral zone, and then we'll have adjustment if we go a little bit lower or a little bit higher. All right, pro tip, when you're working in the shop, especially when you're grinding and cutting, always keep your open cans in the fridge because you don't want metal down in there. Metal does not give you energy. So just to hold a good reference in the middle, we got our alignment cam. We're gonna put it on one of the middle slots right there. Good tight fit. That guy right down the middle. All right, moment of truth. Is 1/4 of an inch enough? So we're quite a bit closer at 1.1, which I could easily adjust that down to 0 just by using the alignment slots there, but I'd like to get it to be 0 smack dab in the middle of that slot there. So I'm gonna shorten this by probably an 1/8, maybe a 1/16 of an inch and try again. All right, moment of truth, guys. We have the upper control arm with the sleeves tacked in place. We got it shortened. We got the ends straightened out. We're in the middle of our adjustment range, and we have 0.3 degrees of camber. It's still technically on the, let's see, I think that's the positive side. I think the top is out just a touch, but because we're in the middle, we should have about 2 degrees of adjustment in either direction now, rather than having positive camber with that maxed out all the way in. So now we have the end straight, it's tack welded on. I can burn this in for good, and then all I have to do is duplicate the process on the other side, but it won't be quite so much trial and error because I already figured out the exact dimension that everything has to be. Not bad, actually. Work. Oh, nice. Well, unfortunately, I ran out of time and I was unable to accomplish my goal that I set at the beginning of this video of getting the passenger side upper and lowers done. But I also took the extra time to do the driver's side upper, so a little bit out of order. So we got a lot done. I'm still happy with where things are at. This side should align out pretty much perfectly. We also added a brace underneath here to kind of tie everything together and go a little bit overkill. Really happy with how those welds turned out. Just had to show those off, of course. And on the passenger side, we did get the lower done. The upper's like, I've got this upper like halfway, but I ran out of time last night. So I did get the sleeves on in the correct position, straightened out. I just haven't got the brace in and I haven't welded those on permanently. So yeah, got a lot done. I love fabrication work, actually. I really do. I enjoy this type of stuff. I don't like the mess that it makes in the shop. Like the worst thing that bugs me is like that gritty, you know, all those like sparks and stuff that wind up on the floor. I sweep up like 5 times a day, but it still gets everywhere. So when this whole fabrication thing is done, I can't wait to get out the shop vac and just completely clean this place out. Yeah, so that's our progress update for the day, guys. Remember, we're trying to build an 8-second capable 4-wheel drive drag truck. So it's worth the time, I think, to kind of make things once again, as good as you possibly can. That's like one of my philosophies. So I'm happy to take the extra time. April's coming up really quick. I don't know if we're going to make April, but that's just a self-imposed deadline, whatever. Thank you guys for watching. Come back soon. I think the next time you see this truck, we're actually going to be building our upper shock towers. I got a tracking number for the laser cut parts from Send Cut Send, and I think it's going to be here this afternoon for me. So that means next time we'll be doing more fab work and welding, but we finally get to see the upper coilover mounts come together, which is really kind of cool for me. This is like the first time I've done a CAD designed part. So anyway, look forward to that next time. Check out Parker's website, All the Fuel, if you need a really good high quality, high flow fuel filter for your project. I think he said they had one of those 10 micron filters on like a 12 or 1300 horse Supra. But anyway, check his website out, put the link below. Come back soon for more cool truck stuff.